And I'm Carol Lee, and I'm serving as the Zoom tech today. Scary thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I want to introduce Marion, who is our hostess, and Michelle introduce Mary Ray.
Yes, I'm going to be monitoring chat. So if anybody has anything to say, just write it up there and I'll take care of it. Let's see, I found all the things about Mary. So it's such a long list. I don't want to take a lot of her time. So we'll go through it. She is Master Director of OK City, a certified sound judge on the International Faculty, International Board of Directors, EDC, Editorial Review Board, Regional Management Team. She is a coach, and I have personally been in connection with this woman, and she is one of the nicest, kindest, smartest ladies I've ever met. So Region 1, Mary Ray.
Hey, Mary.
Hi, everybody. It's good
Good
to
morning.
see you. Good to see you. So, you guys have been very busy this winter. Been following and seeing all the education you've been doing, and it's just great. And what a testament to you and your region that you're here on a Saturday morning. Although there's not a whole lot of other things to do, probably, right? I don't know how locked down you are in New England. In Oklahoma, it's our numbers are not great. Probably worse than they've been most of the time through the pandemic. So, but my husband and I do a lot of outdoor stuff. He went to play golf this morning, and I just checked the temperature. It's 39 degrees, and he's still playing golf. And so, the thing that has impacted my life the most about this whole pandemic is probably similar to yours, and that's chorus, is that we can't get together, and yet there have been so many blessings as well, that being able to do this and get together this way. It's gosh, we've learned a whole lot of things about technology and Zoom this year, haven't we?
No.
And yeah, so well, this morning we are going to start off. We're going to talk about forward motion, and how many of you have had comments about forward motion on your score sheets? Just raise your hand. Yeah, most of us have. How many have had like really positive comments about forward motion on your score sheets? A couple, yeah. Fewer positive comments than maybe we need more forward motion. And so forward motion is one of those concepts that we talk about, but maybe we don't always understand exactly what it is or how to get it. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So if you just had to we're going to use the chat a little bit today. Okay, so if you had to describe forward motion, how would you describe that? Just type a couple answers in there, or your answer. Lifting ends of phrases. Okay, great. Creating tension in the music. Good. So the audience doesn't lose interest. Excellent. Lyrical flow. Terrific. The song and story move ahead with the chorus energy driving it. Great. Good. All great answers. Energy growing and building and then releasing. Sweet. Beautiful. Great answers. So I'm gonna share my screen now. Let's get you guys over here so I can see you a little bit. I'm just gonna rearrange my screen here. Sorry. I can't do that until after I share. Oh, what? Oh, what? Oh, wait, I lost you. I appreciate you being patient. That's another thing we've learned how to do, is be patient and until the technology works, right? So yeah. So I'm good. Wait, let me move my. Okay. So we're just going to go through exactly what you've been talking about. That forward motion is creating anticipation for what's coming next. It is that sense of anticipation that is what we're looking for. And it's whatever's happening right now is not as important as what's coming next. And so it's that tension and release that someone talked about is exactly what forward motion is. It creates musical vitality. It creates excitement. It keeps the listener engaged, but maybe also it keeps the performer engaged too when we have forward motion and we're invested in forward motion. So really every song needs forward motion, whether it's a ballad or if it's an uptune, it doesn't matter. We still need forward motion. Back when I first started singing in Sweet Adeline's, we sang everything fast in the chorus that I was in. And I think that might have been an attempt to have forward motion. Because we sang ballads fast, we sang uptunes fast. I mean, it was like lickety split, and not always doing the justice for the music. And if we don't get anything else today, we just need to understand that forward motion does not equal speed. It does not mean a fast tempo. And sometimes that's the way we try to correct it. If we have a ballad that the comment is that it needs more forward motion, the first inclination is to sing it faster. And it's not really, the two don't go together. You can sing things fast and you can sing things slowly, and both of them can or cannot have forward motion. They're not necessarily intertwined. So when I was doing research about forward motion, it was interesting to see that that not only different musical genres musical genres have different ways of expressing forward motion, and we tend to think about lyrical forward motion, but instrumentalists also have forward motion. So we have to think about both of the music and the story and the lyrics as we're talking about it. So these are the basic 5 types of forward motion. So musical forward motion, it includes harmonic and melodic, rhythmic, lyrical, physical, and emotional. And we'll go through each one of those. All right, so harmonic forward motion is on a jazz guitar website, it talked about how the music itself creates forward motion, and so it's the chord structure. And that's not a lot that we can do about that. That's the composer actually who creates that part of the ability to have forward motion. So if we were to sing, I'm going to pull this keyboard out, and it's going to be ugly, but if we were to sing time after time, things are dinging. I don't know. I moved something. Sorry. Okay, so if we were to sing time after time, the chords take us in a certain place, okay? So if we sing time after time, you'll hear me say that I'm so lucky to be loving. And you sing the last, where does it go? You sing you. And probably all of us are on one of those notes, okay? So the chords bring us back to the tonic chord. There's not a whole lot that we can do about that because we did not compose the song. But if we are aware of that and we use that to our advantage, that's how why we need to be aware of it, why we need to understand the harmonic forward motion aspect. So because it would not make sense. I'm so lucky to be loving you. That doesn't make sense. So but if we can sing lucky to be loving and create that tension, and then you, and let it release and come back, that's where understanding the music really helps us. So there's also melodic forward motion, and it helps to know where the music is going. If we look at, we're going to look at, no, well, I'm actually going to use the same slide. If we look at my foolish heart, this is a great song for a lot of reasons to look at different aspects of the music. But if we look at these points here, which I'm going to call, here, wait a second. So I'm going to get fancy with there we go. So if we look at these notes, oops, except I can't draw very well. And if we just sing those notes, da da do da 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 da. The musical line takes us on a journey, and there is stuff that happens in between. But if we don't pay attention to that that melodic line and the movement that happens there, then we're missing out. So it's important for us to understand the musical aspect again. Okay. All right, let me erase that stuff. Cool. Okay. All right. Now how do we get rid of that? Are you seeing that little? Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. So another thing that we do have a little bit more control over is the rhythmic aspect of forward motion. So if we were to sing this song exactly as it is on the paper, the night is like a lovely tune, beware my foolish heart, how bright. So that's technically correct the way it's written on the paper, but it's not very moving or inspiring, and it doesn't really draw you in as a listener, right? So if we were to play this on or think about a really virtuoso violin playing playing this song, they probably wouldn't do da da bum 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 bum. They would lean into the notes a little bit. Da 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 da. So they're going to cheat a little bit, and again, on an instrumental site, they talked about steering the shorter notes into the longer ones. So the ya da 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 instead of da 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 da, ya da da da. So it gives more importance again. So on this particular song, the importance is on the longer notes, which are also the anchor notes in the melody. Okay, so it works together. This is actually a really great song for these examples. It doesn't, the melodic line, if we were to change the rhythms in this, it wouldn't make sense. So if we sang, the night is like a lovely tune, beware my foolish heart, that's kind of weird. It doesn't go with the lyric, and it doesn't go with the music, right? So sometimes we are inclined to make rhythmic changes for interest, but we have to make sure that there's a reason to do that it's congruent with the lyric and with the melody. Just because we change a rhythm, it doesn't necessarily make it have forward motion in it. Any questions about that? Does that make sense? Yes, I see a few nodding heads. Okay. So we're going to listen actually to a little example of this. I hope I can make this work and play. So this is I'm going to read his name because I don't know him. Claudio Arau. He was a Chilean pianist known for his interpretations of a vast repertoire spanning the Baroque to the 20th century composers. So this is a little bit of Moonlight Sonata. And I want you to listen to how he doesn't do. If I were to play it, it would be like it would be very strict in tempo because I'm not a good pianist. So I would play it that way. But listen to how there's a slight hesitations and how that affects the music and how it affects you as you're listening. Okay. Tell me if the sound is not good on this. Okay. Wait a minute. I didn't mean to go there. Okay. All right. So I think we're a small enough group. You could probably just unmute and just, just describe that and how that made you feel as you were listening to it.
Goosebumps. Oh,
Goosebumps. Good. Yeah. Laura.
Well, I had piano lessons as an adult. I had them as a child and then as an adult, and that was one of the pieces I had worked on. So that just brought me back. But that very simple melody in the right hand, how he made it come alive, even though there were other notes on the piano being played, his technique was so appropriate for bringing out the sing-songy of that very simple melody. So beautiful.
Yeah.
and I played it as well in high school. And as I've learned more about music, as he paused at the end of the intro, I'll call it, just before the major melody came in. Oh my God, it's the tension, the emotional tension that we all love, like you mentioned. And that again makes wonderful forward motion.
Yeah. I saw somebody else with a hand up. Was it, how about Gail? Yeah.
Hi, Mary. How are you?
Good. Oh, hi, Gail. You're so little on my screen. I didn't recognize you till I heard your voice. Okay.
That's good. Little is good these days. For me, as a very visual person, because of his treatment of it, I could actually see it. Could actually see, like, I could see that being a video where you didn't see him, you just saw colors and shapes and things changing all the time because of the ebb and flow that he brought into that. It's a beautiful piece, and I've never played it, but he just brought so much of that, I thought, into the piece.
Yeah. Yeah. Andrea, what were you gonna say?
It really felt like a conversation to me. Like it had that connection of, we were sitting down having an intimate conversation, and it really, those pauses were when you got to kind of go inward and get those feelings that have been being evoked and kind of process them a little bit. So that was kind of cool that way.
That's cool. You must be a very emotional person that's, and it's those little tiny little hesitations that took it just out of the rhythm. And yet the left hand was pretty steady, and if it had been exactly with a metronome, it wouldn't have been as engaging, and we wouldn't be sitting on the edge of our seat like, oh, when's he gonna play? Oh, there it is. And then we're saying, oh, it makes you, it makes you lean into the music a little bit, doesn't it?
Mary, somebody said that his facial movements let you know what he was feeling also, so that helped a lot.
Yeah, because there's a visual component to it as well. Yeah, you bet. You bet. I love I love that's an instrumental piece, and yet it still draws us in, and it's beautiful. Yeah, cool. Okay, now let's see if I can get to the next page. Oh no, wait a minute. Shoot, come on! I know we can do it. There we go. Okay. All right. So, so if we talk about the phrasing of the music that we're singing, every phrase has some shape to it. It has a rise and a fall, and it should have direction. That's really important. It's got to have some place that it's going. We need to know that it's not just a phrase and then another phrase and then another phrase. They all have to have this destination. And they have to connect with each other. So phrases have ebb and flow, just like Gail pointed out, ebb and flow in the Moonlight Sonata. It's within phrases, but it's also within the whole song. So if you could diagram a whole song, it might look like it might go woo, and then it come back down, and then go back up again, and then a little, and then so there is this movement to the entire song, and within that song, every phrase also has. Oh, there's a big thing right in the middle of that. Sorry about that. So phrasing it's a combination actually of the musical elements and the rhythmic elements. And in some songs it just makes sense, and in other songs we kind of have to figure that out a little bit. But mostly we need to really, again, pay attention to what the music is telling us to do. All right, let's see. I'm sure a lot of you have seen this. We're gonna watch another video. And this one is Ben Zander. And well, I'll just let you listen to it and listen to how musical phrasing is affected.
I thought we should do an experiment tonight. An experiment. Actually, it's not really an experiment because I know the outcome.
Sorry for the bad video.
But it's like an experiment. Now, before we start, I need to do two things. One is I want to remind you of what a 7-year-old child sounds like when he plays the piano. Maybe you have this child at home. He sounds something like this. Some of you recognize this child. Now, if he practices for a year and takes lessons, he's now 8 and he sounds like this. And then he practices for another year and takes lessons. Now he's 9. And then he practices for another year and takes lessons. Now he's 10. At that point, they usually give up. Now, if you'd waited for one more year, you would have heard this. Now, what happened was not maybe what you thought, which was he suddenly became passionate, engaged, involved, got a new teacher, he hit puberty, or whatever it is. What actually happened was the impulses were reduced. You see, the first time he was playing with an impulse on every note. And the second, with an impulse every other note. You can see it by looking at my head. The 9-year-old put an impulse on every 4 notes. And the 10-year-old on every 8 notes. And the 11-year-old 1 impulse on the whole phrase. I don't know how we got into this position. I didn't say I'm going to move my shoulder over, move my body. No, the music pushed me over, which is why I call it one buttock playing. Can be the other buttock. You know,
So one buttock playing is that's kind of that's an interesting concept, isn't it? If we could do one buttock singing, wouldn't that be awesome? You know, that he showed us that the music is what, and the phrasing and the flow of that is what moved his body to do that. And we kind of do that as well. When we first start singing a song, you know, hey, look me over, lend me an ear. And then we get to go, know it. Hey, look me over, lend me an ear. And then, hey, look me over, lend me an ear, fresh out of clover. That's the way our phrasing kind of goes as well. And so the sooner we can get to that, get away from note to note, you know, making sure we got every one of those things perfect, and get into the flow of the song, the more that's going to move us and have us do one buttock singing, which is an awesome concept. One buttock forward on the risers. There we go. Yeah. So what's
Condensed impulses.
So tell us condensed impulses. Tell us about that, Wendy. Where are you, Wendy?
Here I am. Hi.
There, okay.
It's just drawing all of the complexity of the music together to the important note, the important pulse,
Mm-hmm.
so that you're not banging out every beat. You're not a metronome. You're condensing it to bring out the strongest parts.
Yes.
I use the term cinching, like a baggie. You know, you pull it together.
Yeah.
Pull the notes together.
Great.
And Valerie said that it would stop the bobbing on the risers also.
You know what? It probably would. You know, hey, look me over, let me, you know, hey, look me over. So yeah, so if we could have those sweeping kind of movements versus, you know, I'm a bopper. I do my knees. And so I this is me. I'm one of these up and down people. I don't go back and forth, but I go up and down. But if that could just be this way instead of, yeah, that's a really good point. Okay, all right, let me go back to sharing. There we go. Okay. So now we're going to get to the lyrics. And this is what we often think of when we think about forward motion, is telling the story, engaging the listener. I don't know how many of you have had the pleasure of working with Marcia and Jim Massey. Jim is gone, but Marcia's still around, and I can. She actually comes to OK City rehearsals every week. So I distinctly remember her about 15 years ago when we were up late one night after a thing. We were around singing, and we got a little coaching session with her, my quartet. And I remember her just as we were singing going, oh, who, when, who, wow, tell me more, how, where, just asking questions as we were singing, and what a difference that made in the story that we were telling. And, you know, we tend to have a conversational delivery when we sing, and the more we can make that a conversation, the more engaged the audience is going to be versus just telling them. And so we're gonna do just a little bit of an exercise. Okay. There we go. Okay. So we're gonna sing. I hope we all know this song well enough. And I never thought I'd feel this way. And as far as I'm concerned, no, I'm glad yeah. That's what friends are for. That's the name of it. So if we were to ask questions as you were singing this, we're going to ask a question before every line. Okay. So you sing. You can mute yourselves and sing, and I'll get you started. And then I'm going to ask you questions, and you respond to those questions as you're singing. Okay. All right. And that'll work for the key. Okay. Here we go. And you what? Never thought I'd feel this way. How you feeling? And as far as I'm concerned, I'm glad I got the chance to say what? That I do believe I love you. Tell me more. And if what? I should ever go away, what would happen? Well, then close your eyes and try to feel the way we do today. What should you do? And then if you can remember. Okay. All right. Okay. So was that compelling? It maybe made it a little bit more interesting. Yeah. Okay. A little bit more connection with the lyrics. So, but now we're going to do something different, and that is in the timing of when this happens. So now instead of putting it on the breath or at the beginning of the phrase, we're going to put these questions on the word that we're holding. If you were lucky enough to go to the director seminar was that New Orleans a couple years ago now, Jenny Morton was the guest faculty, and Jenny is she's a dancer. She was a dancer first, and she performed on the West End in London, and she's a singer, so she sings, and now she's an osteopath and a psychologist. She's just this fascinating woman. And so she's done a lot of study. And one of the things that she talked about was that our brains take a minute to process. And it was Andrea who said something about being able to feel the emotions because he made those pauses. And so it does take our brains a minute to catch up with what we're saying. So if we ask those questions at the beginning of the breath, then the audience is not really going on the same journey that we're on, because we're not taking them there. We're just saying, here it is. So what we want to do is to give the audience a little bit of a clue about where we're going, so that they can experience it at the same time as us. So instead of singing, and I never thought I'd feel this way, we're going to change. We're going to ask the question on the word that we're holding. So I'm going to change my attitude, my facial expression. I'm actually going to go to the next line with my thoughts and my presentation. So I'm going to answer the question, I what? Okay. So, and I never thought I'd feel this way. And as far as so do you know, can you see and hear the change on the word that I'm holding? So I'll do it without changing yet. Okay. And I never thought I'd feel this way. Okay. Now I'm going to change on the word I'm holding. And I never thought I'd feel this way. Can you see a difference? Hear a difference? A little bit? Okay, so what I want you to do is, now we're going to sing it this way. And I want you to make that change and see what that feels like. If that feels less engaging, more engaging. Okay? All right, here we go. And now I'm probably not going to sing as much this time because I'm going to be asking questions. Okay, so here we go. And you what? What are you feeling? As I'm concerned, I'm glad I got the chance. Say what? That I do believe oh, tell me more. And if what? I should ever go, what would happen? Well, then close your eyes and try to feel the way we do. Oh, what should I do? And then if you can remember what? Okay. So how did that feel compared to the first time we did it? Go ahead and take your mic off and you can answer.
It
definitely
really
moved me
changed
from
the
one
way
phrase.
I sang it.
And how, Marion?
It moved me from one phrase to the next. It connected one phrase. It connected the phrase I was holding to the one that was coming forward.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it changed my focus. It made me think about it differently.
Yeah. And you, so you did it, you're yes. Anybody else?
More passion.
More passion.
More
Yes.
interactive.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And how do you think someone listening to that do you think that they would feel that differently as well?
Oh, yeah.
I do too. Yeah. And because they are allowed to join you when you bring them in sooner. They're not reacting to what you're doing. They're going with you. Okay. So this is a really great tool for and your questions don't have to be profound. They really don't. They just need to propel you into the next thing. Okay. Marsha, all she did was, who, when, what? So, all right. Do you think that that's something you can use? I hope. Yeah. Great. Okay. All right, so emotional breaths, we're going to talk about that actually in the Unity class, but it's also a part of this class. So I just wanted to address that, that much like asking questions, another way to approach it is to describe the breaths that we take and use breaths to connect one phrase to another. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in the next class, but yeah, because again, kind of like when I first started, we sang everything fast. Every breath we did was fast. That's just the way we breathed. Yes. All right. So if we talk about dynamic and how dynamics can create forward motion, we can just think of that again. The music usually tells us where the dynamics are. If we were to sing high-voiced chords very softly, that could be a challenge. And usually the music that's not what the music is telling us to do. If the music goes to big high-voiced chords, that usually means a big dynamic. And we're creating an obstacle if we're trying to make that something different than that. Conversely, if there's a low voice chord, we probably don't want that to be the loudest part of the song. So, we have to listen to the music, do what the music is telling us. Okay. And ideally the lyrics and the music go together. So we're going to listen now to another piece of something. This is not, we can't listen to the whole thing because it's Bolero and it's 15 minutes long. But what I want you to notice about this is that basically the melody doesn't change, the tempo doesn't change, but the dynamic build is what creates the tension in this song. I'd love to listen to the whole thing, but we can't. And this conductor is he's awesome, and so yeah. Oh no! Shoot. Okay. Hang on a second. I'm gonna get it. I hang on a second, because I do want you to hear this. Of course, I have the other ones pulled up, but not that one. I don't know. Thank you for being patient. Here it is. Okay. Okay, now here we go. Now where are you? Wait a minute. Gotta get you guys back. Okay. All right, here we go. Already he's awesome, isn't he? You see his conducting baton? Different instrument, so a little bit louder. Okay. All right, so we're just going to jump ahead. A few more instruments, a little bit more intensity. I hope there we go. More instruments, more intensity. He's directing bigger with the toothpick. More. And more. So that is such an awesome example of how dynamics can suck you in. It's just, how did that make you feel? I mean, of course, you have to imagine listening to the whole thing.
It's exhilarating.
Oh, isn't it?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's amazing to be able to do that with instruments, not using voices or words or anything, and still get that same powerful feeling.
Yeah.
And the fact that the percussionists can keep perfect rhythm is impressive as heck to me.
Isn't that amazing? Because
Can't get over that.
you would think that you'd think that would make you want to go faster. I mean, I think you'd have to have a lot of artistic restraint if you were that snare drum, wouldn't you, to be able to keep that steady like that. What did you know? Go ahead.
Sorry. It's interesting what you said, Marion, because you said that it's interesting that they can do that without voices, but I was thinking the opposite. I was thinking, boy, I wish we could get that flow and that energy into our voices, our instrument.
Yeah. Well, we can. That's the beauty of it. We can do anything we want to with it. Yeah. Yeah. And what did you notice about their the physicality of that performance? Did you notice anything from the beginning to the end?
Yeah, for sure.
Valerie, what?
Well, you mean I played in an orchestra, so I sort of get it, but you sort of start out very reserved and you're keeping your instrument close.
Mm-hmm.
And as the song builds, you go from maybe pizzicato, and then your instruments up, your clarinet or horn is up, and then pretty soon you're taller in your chair, and pretty soon the director's bigger, and everything's getting bigger.
Yeah, yeah. So everything was very still at the beginning, wasn't it? And then by the end, they were, everybody was, and it wasn't just the violinists who were doing that. It was everyone who was moving and giving all of that to the music. And boy, that makes a big difference as well. Yeah, yeah. I love that. It's just go listen to it this afternoon just to make you happy. It's great.
Yeah, it's great.
All right. Okay, so there we go. So we just talked about just a little bit about the physicality of forward motion, that there is a physical aspect of it. So if we feel that sweep of the music, if we do things, we can take the audience where we want to go. Bernadette Peters is really good about making eye contact with the audience, and then if she wants to look up at something, then you, as an audience, you may not look to see what she's looking at, but you feel that you kind of feel that as well. That's where your attention goes, is to something bigger. We're gonna do one more quick little. Oh no, we're almost to the end here. I'm just going to show you a little bit of Shirley MacLaine, and I want you to watch how her physicality changes as she's singing this.
There used to be. Wow. Just look at where I am. Tonight I landed right in a pot of jam. What an evening. Holy cow. They'd never believe it if my friends could see me now and watch me sing and dance, surrounded up to here in pomp and circumstance. They'd say that this was one of my classier gigs, and if they looked up there, they'd all flip their wigs. This place is packed tonight with so much royalty. They had to seat the earls and barons in the balcony. What a wing-ding, holy cow. They'd never believe it if my friends could see me now. If they could see me now, they'd wonder how I got to be upon this stage and standing in this spot. To tell the truth, I'm filling in for a chum. Vanessa Redgrave said she just couldn't come. They said we need MacLaine, though something's calling me.
So we're a little bit pushed for time, but you can see that as that song grew, so did her physicality. And it's the same for us. There are times that we want to be still when we're singing. And then there are times that the music takes us and makes it grander if we have some physical movement. So forward motion, it's something that that every song needs. It gives us vitality. It creates that anticipation for the listener and for us, keeps us engaged, keeps the audience engaged, and it lets them know that the best is yet to come. Are there questions about that, about how you can put those things into practice? Yeah, Laura.
So when we're working with our singers on the risers and we want to have unity, you know, in the visualness of whatever song we're doing, how do we help them, you know, be expressive and, you know, get physical without sort of like one or two people might stand out because they, you know what I mean? We all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So actually, we'll probably talk about that in the next class about unity. Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. And most of that is that you're all on the same page. There are going to be people who do express more physically. And almost always, we want people to go up to them instead of, shutting them down. But we'll talk about that a little bit in the next class. Okay.
Quick question, Mary, that Gail had, which was, where was that clip from?
It is from, hang on a second. It was from an awards show, I think.
I assume that, yep. I'll look for it. It's a great example.
Yeah.
The outfit would indicate the 80s.
Yes.
Sometime in the 80s.
Yeah. I'll find it. I have it pulled up on YouTube. I just can't get to it right here, but I'll pull it up. Yeah. I put in, I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, I'll send it to you. Okay. Any other questions? Well, I hope that gives you at least a direction to go. Direction, get it? Yeah, direct, and it's forward. So I hope that helps you and gives you actually some tools to use as you explore forward motion and then put it in every song you have.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Carolee, did you do a evaluation? You did. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
The evaluation sheet with all the evaluation links will also be available after the weekend for everybody if you miss it right now.